Clash of Clans podcast, OG, episode 6.
Skilly beep boop beep boop skilly beep.
And welcome back to the podcast. I am Scotty827, and I am joined here with my beautiful, lovely co-host, the magnificent Tip Dog 20.
You make it sound like I'm wearing a Vanna White dress or something.
Vanity White. I'm glad I got through that opening. Oh my God. I was just trying to think and make sure everything is all lined up, and there we go. So,
well, on top of all that, we have all this stuff going on in Clash of Clans as well. So
it was a very busy week. Like, I feel like we just put out the episode, and now here we are again. So, okay. So you said, let's just start off with at the top, the newest stuff, which I'm not really even aware of. I saw just like the cover thing of it. Mm-hmm. And you texted me about it. So number one, I believe, is the dragon.
Yep. So we have the Super Dragon event that Supercell's putting out, which is interesting, coming directly off the Red Envelope event, the Lunar New Year event. Like literally less than a few weeks later, they're coming out with another event. I'm curious, you're coming right back into this. Obviously, they did not have these events back in 2014, 2015, 2016. And overall, I think that the events are good. They're exciting. They give us something to do within the game. They bring players back, maybe, that hear all this excitement and are interested. For YouTubers, it gives them content that we can look forward to.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how you're responding to all of these events, just bam, 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 right after the other.
Well, so do you know how in the scene the premise of Back to the Future 2, when he goes to the future and he steps out and everything's just kind of wild and going fast and cars are flying?
Yeah, we just watched that like a month ago with
Eli, God,
because I wanted him to be able to watch it and have that memory. It's so funny. I have a pool table room set up, and on my wall I have nerdy signs, and one of the signs is Marty and Doc standing with their backs facing us, and they're looking at the clock tower.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's classic.
That's like, I love those movies so much. Mm-hmm. I watch them, not all the time, but I think about them all the time.
Once a year. They have to be a yearly tradition, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at least a yearly tradition for sure. But I probably think about them every day. Like, there's that TikTok trend and stuff, or that thing where they ask, like, hey, how often do you think about Rome? Or that kind of thing they'll ask about. And I think about time travel like that, like, all the time.
It would be cool. Although I was biggest fan of the first movie. I like the second and the third movie. And if you call yourself a nerd, you have to have watched all three of the movies. But the first one was just classic. I mean, that was classic nerding out, sci-fi, like it, or not sci-fi, but it was definitely the best, I think.
I think now, yes. And I think it's kind of changed, but when I was a kid, it was number 2.
Really?
Like,
because the future, God, like the futuristic
future, of it. I was like in 4th grade. I had the book from the reading thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would make my toys be Back to the Future. I just loved it, and I still love it. I even have the gray sports almanac I bought a few years ago, and I got the hat, funny. And I have the hat too from when he's in the future.
Yeah,
I just think it's
so Clash of Clans looks like it's in the future for you.
It feels like how you would feel if you stepped out of a time traveling DeLorean in the future and things are happening and you're just trying to take it all in.
Things are definitely happening.
So you don't know sometimes, and that's good to like get a opinion from you on this. You don't know sometimes whether it's just you or whether, has this always been the norm? And you were telling me before the show and whatnot that no, this isn't always the norm. Things are happening really fast.
So with Town Hall 15, Supercell made it their plan, and I'm guessing this was Stuart, the game lead, where they said that they were going to rotate updates. So they were going to do Clan Capital update, and they were doing the 4 per year update. So one spring, one summer, fall, and winter. So the spring update might be the Clan Capital update, and then the summer update was going to be the Builder Hall update or the Builder Base update. And then in the fall, maybe we would get main home village. In fact, there was a time period where it went like 300 days or something like that without any home village, main village content, like none at all.
Are you serious?
Zero. Not a troop level, not a building level, nothing. And 300 days. That sounds too long. It might probably was closer to like 200 days, but it was a really long time without them
even
doing
just
anything
in comparison to the lifespan of the game. You know, 1/10 of the life of, or 1/11 at this point now.
Well, and I also think that they thought that Capital Hall and Builder Hall were both going to take off a little bit more than they were, and it was basically going to be 3 games in one, when the whole time the player base is saying, no, like, we're only interested in the main village. Sure, these offshoots are nice, like they kind of take up our time, but the main village is where it's at. I think Supercell's trying to push us to these other game modes so that they could expand those game modes and then increase their revenue in that area. But they completely ignored the home village. Well, as such, their revenue took a huge hit. And so they hired all of these Clash of Clans coders, all of this staff, and they come up with a bunch of ideas. And it really started with the Mashup Madness event right around Halloween of last year. And then ever since then, it's just been bam, 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 more and more and more content. And it's all for the home village. And it's a bit overwhelming, almost, I would say. I mean, are you overwhelmed at all with all these events and things to do?
No, I think well, I mean, maybe at first, but now I'm, used to it. Like I said, now that I realize it's not just me, like, okay, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm happy about it. Just that there's all these different chances for those runes, and I never feel like I'm sitting around waiting for builders too much. I know maybe on the last episode I was talking about that. I have to wait for this and I have to wait for that. And I do realize I'm a TH13 soon. Well, by the time I get there, 14.
Have you pressed the button yet?
No, well, no, because at another level on my Giga for no. And then the other day I realized that I swear to God, I had started my gold storage my last one, so I can make sure to do that, because I thought, hey, and I don't know what I did. I must have just went on and did something else. And so in I think like 3 days, I'll be pushing the button.
Nice. Well, the good news is that magic item usage goes up. At least the value of magic items goes up exponentially at Town Hall 14. So the timers on a lot of the buildings and for troops and things like that see this jump between Town Hall 13 and Town Hall 14. So yes, it will take longer, but also because you buy the gold pass and because of all these events, you're going to get magic items. Well, they're going to come in really handy and be better used at a higher Town Hall level, Town Hall 14, rather than they would have at Town Hall 13.
Yeah. So I'm excited. So I mean, it's enough to, like, you can check in and do as little as you want, and there's a lot of stuff to do if you just want to sit down. So I'm happy about that. It's entertaining for sure.
One of the things that has really been, I wouldn't say frustrating, but like I have multiple accounts that I play. And I don't know how many players play with more than one account, but I have 3 accounts that I play on the regular, like my main Tipdog 20 account, which is almost a max Town Hall 16. And then I have Boimler and Tal Shiar.
You haven't slept in weeks.
My Strategic Rush Town Hall 14. And then I also have my Town Hall 13, which is max, Town Hall 12 that is max, Town Hall 11 that is max, and another Town Hall 12 that's mid Town Hall 12. The only problem is between, recording this podcast and making YouTube videos and getting all of my Legend League attacks in, and I do wars in Quark's Bar in order to keep the org going with all of my account. Like I don't have time to be able to farm and fully participate in all of the events. And granted, I'm not spending any money on those accounts, so Supercell doesn't really care if I participate in those events. But still, like it's kind of frustrating to somebody who has CDO, you know?
Yeah. I couldn't help but think of like
That's OCD for anybody who's wondering what that was.
I couldn't help but think of like there's got to be, you know, for MTV's Catfish, there's got to be like help groups and stuff, and there must be like a Clash Fish, like because you have Clash Fish, yeah, because you have to like go between all those different accounts. I'd go crazy logging in and out, and especially with those events. So what is this dragon event?
So I only learned about it today. I watched a Judoslav video on it. Seems like it's very similar to the other events that have been done, except in the other events you had to destroy certain buildings in order to gain the dragon medals or the red envelopes or whatever it might be. This time it's literally only based on stars. So as long as you're doing attacks, for every star that you get in your regular, you know, farming attacks or whatever it might be, or Legend League attacks, if you're above 5,000 trophies, then you get a certain number of, and I forget what it's ice cubes, I think, which is interesting considering it's a Super Dragon event. You get a certain number of ice cubes, and then you use those ice cubes to build to go up the track. But the big prize for this event is the fireball, which we've talked about in the past, which is for the Warden. They teased that during the Azure Dragon event. Now they're bringing it out. So the big concern with most players is that now there are so many pieces of equipment that unless you spend a lot of money, it's going to take a long time to max all of them out. Now, that's not that big of a deal because if you have 2 max pieces for each hero, that's really all you need because all the pieces are really well balanced. But for those players who are like, man, I just want to max everything out, it's going to take a really long time to do that unless you spend actual cash.
Or time.
Well, there's no time factor with ores. The only way that you can get ore is by your daily star bonus or through doing clan wars. And so you literally can only do that once per day with your daily star bonus or once every other day with clan wars. So you can't do it faster. Like you just have to plod along to slowly gain your ore to upgrade your equipment.
I would say have a little patience, people.
True.
You know, like we don't have to rush to the very end super fast. You know, there's supposed to be that element of it, you know, too. And I get the need for it. I'm not really one way or the other. I just imagine those poor people that must work in the complaint department at Supercell. And they just must they probably work for 1 week out of the year. And they go in there for that week. And their week's probably a 32-hour work week. And they go in there, and by the time they get done with those 32 hours, they need a break for the rest of the year. Just because it's, you know, there's always going to be something. I think making choices, though, I think is a good part of the game.
Yeah, and I agree.
So if you have to do it without, you know, then you got to specialize, right? Then you kind of maybe you have to distinguish yourself as a character a little bit more, or like as a weapon itself. Like not everybody's armed with the same things. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know.
And also if you compare your equipment upgrade to how long it takes to actually max out a base in Clash of Clans, then it's actually not that long because currently the time is right around 3 years. I mean, barring using magic items or, you know, spending money to finish up items quickly, like it takes 2.5 to 3 years to fully max out a base. And it kind of looks like they want the same time period on the equipment. So if you start off at level 1 with all the pieces, it's going to take you 1.5 years or more to just max everything out. And they don't want you to max it out too quickly. They want you to continue to be incentivized to do clan wars, you know, to get your daily bonus, to be excited about the game.
you got to want
right?
a little bit, right? Like, okay, yeah, I want that next thing. I want to be able to do that. Now you're all right here. New hero pieces of equipment are coming in. New players that are coming to it now have more choices of things that they want to specialize in.
Yeah.
Or they go, ooh, that one is really cool. And so they go down that path. And, the other people have them all and they go down the other path. So some people can catch up and specialize without having to have all the, the diverse things. And then, maybe you master one thing and, you switch it up. And so it makes it so that way maybe players just have more of a specialty. I can see that being cool in esports.
Yeah, definitely. And especially like with the fireball, like the fireball is very use case specific. So if
what is this thing?
So if you're gonna be doing all kinds of different attacks and not just one specific attack, then you don't want to upgrade your fireball because your other pieces of equipment are going to be less useful at a lower level. So it's like, okay, I have this one specific type of attack that I can use a fireball with. Well, basically, that's never going to get upgraded, at least not until my other pieces are upgraded. So the fireball evidently does 4,100 damage, which I actually think that they lowered the amount of damage that it did because when they teased it in the Azure Dragon video, it wiped out a monolith, and a monolith is 50-50 hit points, 5,050 hit points, and it completely wiped it out. And I think that they initially had the total damage to be 5,100 damage because that would make sense since the fireball wiped out the monolith. And evidently, through player testing or whatever, they decided, that's probably a little bit too OP. So they backed it off down to 4,100 damage. But
what's that like for on an eagle?
It won't fully destroy an eagle. There are several defenses at 4,100 that it will not destroy completely. So I know it won't completely
air
destroy
expos. Killed.
It will destroy air defenses. It won't fully destroy scatter shot. Won't fully destroy an eagle. But if you pair it with an earthquake, then it will fully destroy those. I don't know an eagle. I don't have the HP of an eagle off the top of my head. But if you do an earthquake and maybe a few zaps on top of the eagle, then that paired with the Warden's Fireball probably could take it out. But there are two use cases that are really popping their heads up on this being really useful for. Number one is a Warden Walk, and that's where like you're using Super Bowlers. So this would come in really handy with a Warden Walk with Super Bowlers where you're funneling out one corner so that way your Super Bowlers don't walk. And then you can use your fireball to blast a big defense, whatever it may be, an Inferno Tower or something like that. And you can get through the Warden Walk more quickly. That's one use case. And then the other use case is if you're using a Super Archer Blimp, which is where you send the blimp in and you tome it with your Warden's Eternal Tome ability. Well, typically the other half of the Warden's equipment is wasted, whether that be the Rage Vial, the healing tome, or whatever. So now, whenever you hit the ability, you have massive damage that comes out of the Warden, and so it's a use case that will be very helpful with the Fireball if you're sending in a Super Archer Blimp. But other than that, I don't see it being used much, just because the other pieces of Warden equipment help out your attack a lot more than just one single hit somewhere on the base.
I can't help but think as you're talking about this, is it going somewhere? Like with this new overgrowth, this new ability kind of hitting, I guess I don't really know how it works exactly, but is there going to be some new defenses being added?
They could. So they did say that they're going to be introducing Town Hall 17 and possibly a new hero at Town Hall 17 at the end of the year as well.
A new hero at 17?
At Town Hall 17. Now, I watched the Judo Sloth video on that, which I was watching whenever we came on. And the idea was basically a hall of heroes, which they've kind of brought up in the past.
Ooh.
So very similar to like your pet house, to where right now we have 9 pets, but you can only use 4 of them.
Ooh, I have no idea how those things work yet.
So you can only put one on each of your heroes, but also
Ooh.
that's good because you can upgrade a pet and then put another pet on your hero, so that way you're never down a pet. Well, with the heroes, if they have a Hall of Heroes where you can only take 4 heroes into battle, then that means you can be upgrading a hero, but still have 4 heroes available for the battlefield,
Oh.
which would be really nice.
Oh, but then it'll be only at Town Hall 17.
No, not necessarily. I don't. Well, now that I'm thinking of it, they've introduced heroes every 2 town hall levels. So they introduced the king at Town Hall 7, the queen
Maybe at
at Town Hall
15.
9, the warden at 11, the RC at 13,
Yeah.
and they did not introduce a hero at Town Hall 15, which means they maybe will introduce it at Town Hall 17, but it's available back to Town Hall 15, possibly.
Ooh. That'd be a good guess. Or
But
hopefully till Town Hall 14, where I will be. I would be waiting to push that button. But it sounds like, if that's the case, it kind of sounds like the Batcave. And then you're going in there and you're like, selecting your suit that you're going to wear.
Yep, and then the equipment that may be
Yeah.
specific to that battle. So maybe one hero with their equipment would be better than another hero and their equipment. Like maybe I decide to set out my RC because, I would rather have the king, queen, warden, and this new OP hero instead. And so therefore I don't need the RC for this attack.
Speaking of which, I really could have used your video last night. And this is what I said when I opened the computer today. Damn it. Because there's that cover and I can't remember what the title of that was. It's about the shield.
Oh, the one that I just put out?
Yeah.
So
and
yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sitting there last night and we did CWL. So I got loot and I'm sitting there with my loot and I go, wow, I'm looking at this. I've got, couple up to 10, one up to 11, and I'm looking across at the RC and there I've got one at 8 and one at 9. And so I take the shield and I go, oh, well, she's going to be down. You don't even need to do it anyways. He's gonna do it sometime. I think he said the shield the last time was really good. And I'm looking at it and I thought, oh, I could do the healer puppet or I could do the frozen arrow and get that one up, but I'm not using it. I've been doing this. And I go, just do it. And so I upgraded the shield. And then I saw your video and
so in YouTube there's what's called the hook whenever you're putting out the YouTube videos, and so let's be clear, like the Seeking Shield is not complete garbage, so it still does at max 10,000 damage in total. So at max it can do 2,500 damage to each building that it hits, but if you can compare the other abilities like our hog puppet that we talked about.
Yeah, and I watched the video.
Okay, so yeah, if the hogs can do more than 10,000 in damage, then that means, because literally all that the shield does is damage, like 2,500 to 4 buildings. Like that's all that it does. It does have the HP increase, but that just increases the overall possible health. It doesn't do anything for her in that moment unless she's healed up back to full health. You'll never see the use of that.
Yeah.
So if you can get more than 10,000 damage through your hogs, then that makes the Seeking Shield completely worthless. So if your hogs can last for at least 4 seconds, and if maybe you place a heal on them, or maybe you freeze, or you invis whenever you're using your RC, and your hogs are able to go 30 seconds, well, if that's the case, those hogs are going to do way more than just the 10,000 of damage than the shield can get you. But again, that requires a level of skill, that requires a level of practice. You have to be in the right part of the base, because if you're surrounded by scatter shots and you hit your ability, then all of those hogs are going to be sizzling bacon. And so
you're saying I don't have a chance?
No. So the Seeking Shield is not bad. It's just
Well, when you put it that way on the video, and then I looked and I go, could I have seen this video yesterday? Could I have? Like, would I have, if I had been on my game and been, doing some research, could I have seen it? And it was 2 hours prior, I think is what it said.
So there are still a lot of players. In fact, I've had several comment on that video already who have said that they still think that the Seeking Shield is OP. And I've never been opposed to anybody using a specific piece of equipment because it works for them. Like, we've had those conversations in the past about the Giant Gauntlet, for example, where I use the Giant Gauntlet on my Town Hall 16, but I don't use it on my 11, 12, or 13 because of the types of attacks that I do. Well, if you're doing the types of attacks where the Seeking Shield makes sense to you because you're going to be sending the RC, towards the middle of the base, those hogs are likely to die quickly. Well, then in that use case, then yes, the Seeking Shield is a valuable piece of equipment, more valuable than the hogs, that the hogs are just going to die immediately,
Yeah.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, you just compared them. And I think that I thought it was really interesting. And then you were comparing some of the other equipments too. I thought that was really valuable.
So the one piece of equipment that I was not impressed with after doing the numbers was the haste vial.
I'm not a big haste fan. And in any scenario, there's nothing that it's ever done for me that I thought's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to make her faster, which could be OP. Like, that could be great.
For me, that just means she's going to die faster.
Well, and me too. Like, I'm not the most OP attacker, and if I have the haste vial on my RC, I'm likely going to get caught up with my queen or my king or my troops, and I got to heal and free. Well, now you have to really know where to send in the RC to make sure that she's hitting. So the haste vial works best with the RC if you're hitting one building at a time. So
it should be good for cleanup.
Or for cleanup, yes, exactly. So where your troops take out a big portion of the base, and you're kind of sending the RC around to flank. But the moment that she comes up to a big cluster of buildings, or say she gets caught up with an enemy hero, well, at that point, the haste vial, it's only going to cause her to go into that damage faster. So
sounds like my type of troop right there.
And she's just going to die more quickly.
Yeah.
I just wasn't that impressed. I was initially impressed thinking it would be really OP, but I don't know. I really like the hog puppet.
Maybe they'll give her wings or something.
Maybe. Or more DPS.
So she's a flying. She's a flying. She gets air because maybe the haste would, because people use haste
with
the balloons all the time, like to make it an air attack.
So I've had feedback that the hog rider puppet, that the hogs die too quickly. So if I have not actually tried it out, my hog rider puppet right now is level 7. Once the piece of equipment gets to level 12, that's when I'm going to try it out.
You don't want to dip your toe into the hog pond?
They're like
just pull out that hog pocket one time just to see.
They're like level 5 hogs. I mean,
just little baby hogs,
little guys,
little baby hog pockets, hog paquitos.
So, I don't know. We'll see. But in the video, I just compared them all. Like I just wanted to offer a different perspective.
Well, and that was cool because it also, you showcased them. And again, when you're showing them like that, it makes me step outside of my way of thinking, because I'm just more of like, set it and forget it. Okay, this is what I'm doing now. And then I think about, oh yeah, what if I did switch it up with this? Even if it's not, because you're never really saying do this or do that. You're kind of just giving the information and benefits and stuff. And that gets me thinking. And that's why I did the rage on the warden.
On the warden. Yeah.
And I did get my gauntlet, which,
that's right, it became available in the shop.
Yeah. And it was, I'm not gonna spend any money or gems or Jesus. That's and I had bought the gems, to have for donating troops, and that came up, and so I just did it, and I like it so far. It's only like level 8. I mean, that's how. I mean, when you think about it, I got it a week ago, and I'm already able to have it up to level 8. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if
and
you're sending it in to the base, it is the most powerful piece of equipment.
but he
So if you're
so
doing
gets ahead of me all the time.
yeah, that combined with the Rage Vial is extremely OP, especially for 10 seconds. So for the 10 seconds that the Rage Vial is going off when you press his ability at max, it goes up, your power goes up plus 155%.
All
And so
shit
yeah,
hits
so
the fan.
normally that with if you don't have the gauntlet on it, that he's just hitting one building at a time at plus 155%. But with the giant gauntlet, you're doing splash damage. And so if he's in the middle of the base where you have clump buildings, those 10 seconds are the most powerful of all the pieces of equipment, except possibly the Eternal Tome, which is on the Warden. But if you're not sending him through the middle of the base, then the Vamp Stash makes more sense. So it just kind of depends on what types of attacks that
Do
you're
you
using.
drop him like earlier, like on the outside? Because maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Well, that's most likely the case. But is he so I do my attack and he gets away from me. There he is. He's like in roid rage. That's him. And he's like out ahead of anything. And I'm just like going, hey, here's my warden. I just got to hit you quick before you get out of range.
Yeah.
So he's usually, so it's like I've got to hit the warden later, but I end up hitting it earlier because I'm about to lose my king.
Yeah. So and if you can, and this is another layer, but if you can hit the warden on the king and then hold off on hitting the king's ability until the tome effect has worn off. Because the beauty of the giant gauntlet is he experiences a 60% reduction in damage. So basically, he has 60% of a warden's tome ability on him to distract the defenses, but it doesn't make sense to combine that with the warden's tome. So just wait till the tome is finished, then hit the giant gauntlet ability if you can, and then you can kind of get the best use cases for both worlds.
Well, that's assuming that I'm not blacked out, choking, panicking during an attack, and I can remember to. No, I've been practicing.
And you've been doing well this
it.
week in CWL. You did really well.
Yeah, but I choked every time.
It's your first CWL, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pressure.
I think so. Do you get medals if you weren't in CWL but you were in the clan?
Yes, you did. So whenever they introduced,
because I had medals before.
They gave you, I forget how many it was, 300 medals. I think they just gave everybody in the very, very beginning, years and years ago, because I had accounts that had CWO medals, and I had never participated in CWO.
That must be how I had medals. I might have done like a couple attacks in a CWL, but I think for my first full participation, this was it. And we were outmatched. And I went in there and it mostly went well, but there was usually something that I just forgot to drop. I mean, when I say I choked, I really didn't choke too bad, but there just were some easy miss things that I could do. And I was really, well, I found out that you can do the friendly battles against your own base. So that helped a ton. Because then I could just run an attack, but then I'm running these attacks over and over, and then I switch something up, and then I go in. And so I just have to commit to a troop loadout, at least like
for the muscle memory.
Yeah, for the muscle memory. Because it's always that last minute, oh, wait, I'm just going to add this in here too. Oh, I forgot about this. I should do this. And so I just have to do that, run it, 5 times, at least.
Well, so you started running Super Bowlers, right?
Yeah, because I was looking for a new attack. It just seems like on these bases in CWL, because we're going against like, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even recognize what town halls these are.
They're mostly all town hall 16s, most of them.
I felt like my strategies were pretty good. And there was a couple where I thought, ooh, I I should have not a 3-star, but I thought I should do really pretty well on this if it goes to plan. And I just ran out of steam in some of those attacks. Like just a couple where it got right to the town hall. I thought things were going really good. And then all of a sudden it just like you just need the pets or something, against those defenses. But it was fun. I didn't mind because it really, you remember the House of L Wars back in the day. It was like it's always being outmatched. It was like always having, really tough up top things, and you would have to go in there and just go for the best 2-star you can get, and hope for a 3, but really it was gonna. And so I didn't even think about the fact that it was much higher until you had mentioned something about it. I think maybe it was on the last. I wasn't even thinking about that.
We had Town Hall 13s and 14s mostly, and Masters too. I mean, we're going against all Town Hall 16s up and down the board. I mean, we had a couple of Town Hall 15s at the bottom here and there, but I don't even know that we saw a Town Hall 14 or less all week. I don't think.
No, there was a 13.
Oh, was it? Oh, you're right. You're right. I forgot about those.
Yeah, and I did. So I had a couple of those, which was nice. I got the 8 stars. But it was fun to see, and big shout out to Chewy, to Blunder, to D-Max, Maximus for coming to help with CWL. That was fun, and we couldn't have done it.
It was a lot. Yeah, for sure.
And that was a lot of attacks for everybody to do. And so thank you.
It gets a lot. Like you have to do an attack every single day. And especially when you get to a certain level, you're basically going against equal, because we'll drop. And then eventually we'll get to a point to where in a clan war league where we're matched against town halls that are pretty much like our own. And in those cases, you really got to plan because you want to go for the 3-star if you can.
Probably
which
like
means
Old
it takes
Wars.
extra time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had fun. I'm looking forward to doing it again next month. Got a lot of loot, like I said, so I was able to upgrade that stuff, and it just good practice. And I have kind of been switching to that. We kind of talked about it last time, that mentality of constant war, constant attacking, and loot, not really thinking too much about it. The builders have been going, everything's been upgrading, except for I had to pause for CWL on the heroes. But soon as it was done, RC went back down. I would put another hero down if I could, but the builders are going, and I had to get that gold storage.
Have you got your 6 builder yet?
No, I haven't. I don't know when I'm going to get that.
Yeah,
it's going to be forever, I think.
It took me. I actually just got my 6 builder on my Strategic Rush account, and it took me 5.5 months to go from starting to finish.
And did you just focus on the things that you needed to do to get there in that builder base?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm actually going to be putting out a video next week probably about how I did that and the quickest way to Strategic Rush your builder base.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch that.
You only have to do a few things. Now, granted, it takes 5.5 months to do those few things, but you have to have one troop that's at max level 18. You have to have one defense that's at level 8. You have to have your heroes on the builder base to a combined 45. And then you have to have 3 defenses on your main village that are geared up. And then once those are done, they give you the 6 builder.
I have one of the tasks complete.
Yeah, so it may only take you a couple months then.
Probably. I just want that 6 builder. It would be so nice. It's going at a good pace because I kind of switched it up, and I decided to just do my air bombs and my traps to have one builder on the real slow pace. So that way I always can dump my gold into the walls or dump my resources into the walls. And I think my defenses are losing needlessly.
But that's okay. You see my defenses on my Strategic Rush base?
No, I really haven't. I haven't been watching. They've just been getting pounded.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
everything's level 1.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, all my cannons, archer towers, except for one archer tower, I had to. So in order to gear up the buildings on your home village, your archer tower one has to be at level 8, one cannon has to be at level 6, and one mortar has to be at level 10. So I literally have one cannon at level 6, one archer tower at level 8, and one mortar at level 10. Everything else is level 1.
I'll have to watch that. I know there's just a few things, and then I go, "Oh yeah, but what about this? What about that?" So I will. I need to. I need that. I just. I don't know. I need to get my air stuff done, like the balloons, because I've been watching those replays, and I noticed that it comes down to a couple dragons living.
Yep.
And I figured, well, I'll keep one big thing going. Like I'll take the one high end, and then I might as well upgrade the things they can't see and play the deception card as much as I can. So I don't know, it's kind of fun just to have something always done like in a day or whatnot. So I don't know how many level. Yeah, it's just been working out kind of cool. And then it's helping me adjust because we came down to CWL and it was, I had 2 heroes down. So I had to gem a couple awake and stuff like that. So it's kind of holding and just trying to all through CWL, just trying to pump that gold into, or not gold, but resources into things.
Yeah. So typically I'll use my dark elixir to upgrade troops during CWL week because the other 3 weeks out of the month or 4 weeks, depending on how long the month is, all my dark elixirs go into my heroes. Well, since my heroes are up during CWL, well, then I still have the dark elixir flowing. Well, then I'll use it to upgrade my minions or my hogs or, my golems or my witches or something like that during CWL. That way I still have a use for that dark elixir.
And what do you do with your, on your strategic base? You just hold your resources?
No, so I'm using all the dark elixir to upgrade troops.
But like the gold and the...
Oh, no, I'm upgrading stuff like regular. So typically during CWL, I'm upgrading stuff that I have not had time to focus on, and I do it based on a priority list.
You follow their list?
I do. So I put out a video on Friday that talks about my priority list of what I followed at Town Hall 13 and then again at Town Hall 14. And that's stuff like your elixir upgrades, which all my elixir upgrades are done.
I don't even want to look. I probably did it all wrong.
No, probably not. And that's the beauty of it is you can always catch up. Just like stop where you are. Okay, do I have all my elixir upgrades done? Or all my army camps max? Or is my CC max?
Yep.
Are my spell factories max?
Yep.
Are my barracks max?
Yep.
Stuff like that. As long as you check all those off, then you're good to go. And then after that, I focus on my core defenses. So at Town Hall 13, that's the Inferno Tower and the scatter shots and the Eagle, and the Giga Weapon. So stuff like that, I tend to put more focus into during the week of CWL because all of my heroes are up and I'm not focusing on them at all.
What I need to do is I know there's those core, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I always leave my air defenses. It's the one thing I do not want to do. Because
You've always been that way.
I know. And this time I'm going to be different. I'm going to keep one thing on air defenses all the time.
My air defenses are still level 1.
Are they? Well, and I don't just mean air defenses. I mean air defenses and sweepers and balloons. And because every time I say to myself, you know what, the Infernos do it both. The Expos do both. This does both. And it keeps getting pushed down. And like you said, I have always done it that way. And so this time I feel like I should just bite the bullet right up front, get them done, because I'm getting hit by drags all the time.
Yep, that's what the biggest portion of player base uses dragons. Like whenever I do my wars and Cork Spar, like that's all. It's either E-drags or dragons. Like that's pretty much what I'm getting hit with all the time, every single war.
And it's like if I just do those things, and I know it doesn't go to to things. It doesn't go to troops that aren't, like an archer tower, right? Like it'll hit other troops and whatnot and infernos. So I have to do it. And it's painful. It's really painful. It's like ignoring every impulse inside of you to do something one way.
Especially when there's other stuff you want to upgrade on your base.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that thing. I can't wait to do that. Every impulse. It's almost like, and I think that's what happens around the upgrade times or where I was saying about the gold storage. I panic because I'm sitting there going, you know what? I'm committed to it. I'm committed to doing that air defense. I'm going, yep, this time I've decided on it. Okay, I know it's going to suck. And then it happens. Oh, builder's free. And I start scrolling down. Oh, wait, what about this thing? And then I end up doing it. And that probably happened with the gold storage. Oh, I really need to get that gold storage done. So I'm going to do this. And I'm looking and, oh, but wait, and no, just do it. And then I find out it's not. So that's just a little bit of the joy that lives in my head while I'm upgrading and whatnot. Every day.
Every day. It's a daily thing. It's a daily event. And then and with me, it's on multiple bases.
Yeah. That's what I couldn't. I think with like a second account for me, it'd be much easier to do it because I wouldn't care. But I mean, I'm looking at my Inferno towers going, I really want to get those up because every attack that people have to freeze them. But the deterrence, I think, on the air, at least then they have to really kind of focus a raid.
Yeah. But then they're probably just going to zap them out anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching
so
that.
Kind of like, dang it. Why did I even bother upgrading it?
Oh, and you were talking about that. You mentioned that in a text from an old episode, the defense that we were talking about, the lightning rod.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about you guys had come up with the lightning rod as a new piece of a new trap, basically. So the lightning rod would be something that you can't see.
Oh, yeah.
It would deter one zap, just one. It only works one time. And if you have a particularly juicy zap part of the base, that a player would come in, well, they would have to bring an extra zap just in case the lightning rod was up over that defense or whatever it was, because they couldn't destroy that defense if the lightning rod was over it, because it would stop one of the zaps.
And do those lightnings do 3? They go boom, 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 right? Or is it 5?
So they used to do 5 hits, and then they did a rework on the lightning spell back in 2017, I think it is, to where it just does 1 hit. So there was a pattern to it where if the lightning spell was the first spell that you cast, then it did this pattern on the ground.
Yeah,
if it was the second, it did this pattern, third, this pattern, all the way up to 5, I think it was. And then they reworked it. Now the zap just hits one time and does a specific amount of damage, and that's it. Because you used to, before poison was introduced in early 2016.
Yeah,
you have to use zaps to kill the enemy CC, and you had to time it and place it in the right place and know which spell order you were deploying it in. Because if the CC was in the middle of the base, and let's say that you deployed a rage spell and a freeze spell before the enemy CC was triggered,
lured out.
Well, then that pattern of the lightning spell was different than the first pattern of the lightning spell if you had used the lightning spell first. So you had to know the pattern and know where it would hit, so that way you could kill the witches that were coming out of the enemy CC. Because if you didn't, it would completely ruin your attack, completely scuttle everything.
Well, here's what I will say for an update to the lightning rod. That'd be really cool as a trap, right? I don't think Supercell would do that, given now looking back in their history of upgrades. However, I think they might do something like skeletons with tinfoil hats.
Please explain.
Well, imagine you had this little trap, like the Skelly trap, but it was skeletons with tinfoil hats. And then, or they were flying kites or something like that. And then when you would put them around air defenses or places with like electro dragons and stuff. And they would take damage they could dispel some damage from like the lightning strike.
Yeah, I could see that. So in Clash Royale, they do have skeletons that wear armor, and so the first time that they're hit with anything, the armor falls off, and then the second time you hit him, it kills the skeleton. Rather than right now the skeletons just run around naked, like they don't have anything on. Well, skeletons with armor would be kind of a level up on that, where you'd have to hit them twice before they actually die.
Because then so let's say you had a bunch of those and they had been triggered, right? So they're out on the ground and the electro dragon dies. Well, if they're around your town hall, then, it's going to dispel some of that damage, like shoot it, some of the electricity off. So it's not going to get so much. And then you'd have to decide between the air defenses, like on the base, or whether or not you'd want to keep it by your town hall.
So whenever the Electro Dragon dies, it has this lightning that comes down.
Yeah.
After it dies, that used to be the pattern for the lightning spell.
Okay. So it dies underneath, those skeletons are under. Well, that's gonna. Now all of a sudden you can't get all your Electro Dragons on one area to take it all out if there's that trap there. That could.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I just came up with that.
It's pretty OP. I don't know. It
sounded like I knew what I was talking about there for a minute.
You always know what you're talking about, Scotty.
Well, I don't. Sometimes I wonder. But that could work because I'm seeing a ton of zaps on those bases.
Lots of zaps. Most people, especially in the lower town hall. I mean, it's still popular at Town Hall 16. Zapquake something, Zapquake Lalo, Zapquake whatever. But most people at the lower town halls, they just zap out at least 3 of the air defenses, rush to 4th air defense, and dragon the entire base. Like that's the attack that everybody uses. So that would be an interesting wrinkle.
Do you want to know my OG moment? It's actually a really great segue.
Yes, please.
Do you remember the Santa Bomb?
Yeah, so they still the presents?
Yeah.
They haven't done that in a few years now that I'm thinking of it.
Well, the original one.
I don't know if is any different.
Did they update like a couple years ago? So the original bomb was maybe
Santa Surprise. Santa Surprise, right? That's what it was
probably.
Called?
You know how I do. The bomb. And like the present, and so it'd be on your base, and then you would trip, and it would get tripped, and during your attack, and Santa would fly over and lightning you.
I don't remember that. Like I remember where it was a spell that an attacking player could use.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember maybe Maximus telling me about that. No, but the Santa Bomb. Maybe it was called Santa Surprise, but the bomb. This came out, it must have been the first or second year of Clash. And it was only there for a little bit. But I remember after this, there were just a couple people that still had their Santa Bomb.
Yep.
Because I think it was if you moved it or you touched it after that update was gone, it was gone.
So, yeah, that's Santa Surprise.
Is it the same thing that we're talking about?
Yeah. So whenever you could drop the Santa Surprise on a player's base, and it would leave presents wherever the bomb was dropped. But Santa Surprise was very similar to a lightning spell, but it did less damage than a lightning spell. So I always called it
this was a defensive, though.
Oh, I don't remember that.
This was a present on your base.
Oh, interesting.
And so when somebody was attacking you, they would come across that present, and here would come Santa and drop the lightning spell.
That's interesting. I don't remember that.
And so after like the update was done, those presents still stayed around. And I could be wrong on how exactly it went away, but I think it was if you touched it or moved it, it would open up and then that would be it. And so there were just a couple people who had them around for a few years because they didn't touch them or whatnot. But yeah, it was really cool because you would be going in there, you'd be hitting somebody's base. Now I'm kind of doubting my own sanity. But you'd be hitting somebody's base and then Santa would come up, fly over and strike you.
That's really interesting. So I know that they've had special event troops in the past, like the Frost Wizard and the Giant Skeleton, the Party Wizard. And used to, they would allow you to keep those troops in your camps, your army camps. And as long as you never use them, you could still use them for like
they'd stay
friendly
right
attacks
there.
or friendly wars. They would stay in your camps. And there are players, awesome. The Frost Wizard hadn't been in Clash of Clans for a year or 2 years, and they still had Frost Wizards in their army camps because they just never used them. But then
that's awesome.
Supercell did an update and removed if it made it so that players could only have those special event troops in their camps during the special event, and after the event was over, then all of them
they'd be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can imagine myself going, well, there's that wizard. I just can't get rid of it. And another one would come out and I'd go, well, still, I'm just going to keep one. But yeah, I'll have to look it up. And
do you remember the shrink trap?
No.
So the shrink trap was in the game for, I think, a special event, and they put it
shrink trap.
They have these special events where you can attack a special base, like a Valentine's base or whatever, and you can win a hero potion or something like that. Ooh. Well, oftentimes, and they have the frost trap as well, where the shrink trap is whenever your troops or your heroes go through the shrink trap, they all get shrink down to mini size. They're like, cool. And then their attacking goes down by like 90%, and for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, they have literally no attack ability. And then they go back up.
Oh man, that sounds familiar. I think, was there one that just froze them?
Mm-hmm. And then there's a frost trap where if you went through it, it would freeze everything for a specific. Everything would just be frozen in place. Similar, how if you see ice golems come out of a CC and your troops hit the ice golems and then they explode and all of your stuff freezes. That's
cool.
What the freeze trap was, but you didn't know where it was. So you would go through it and then all of your troops would be frozen for a split second and then they'd be unfrozen.
Huh. I like that they throw some of that stuff in there. Speaking of the minis and the different sizes, let's talk about the Clash movie. Have you been working on your casting list?
So no, so I did think about it. And I did also look up the name that I couldn't remember last week. It was Hulk Hogan.
Oh, Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I couldn't remember Hulk Hogan. But
I thought you were talking about Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, and for some reason I thought that Hulk Hogan was the one who did snap into a Slim Jim,
but that was Macho Man Randy Savage.
You're right. Yeah, right? Yeah, you're right. For some reason,
that's why I was thinking it was.
but
it's hard. I'll have to say I can tell you where I've been with it, but where did you get anybody else?
I did not. No, unfortunately. Okay. Well, I liked your suggestions because I've been listening to the old episodes. So I don't want to just repeat the ones that you guys had said, but like you had said, Tony Stark as the wizard.
Oh,
that 100% makes sense. I think you'd said Keira Knightley as the healer. That 100% made sense. So it's hard for my brain to not think, oh wow, yeah, that's a really good actor for that. You said Natalie Portman, I think, for the Queen. But this is also older actors. Like those were popular during the the early 2000s whenever Star Wars One was introduced, and,
Yeah, I
all of
suppose.
that, and Pirates of the Caribbean and of the Caribbean and all of that. So as far as new actors, I don't know. Like I'll
Well,
have to think about it.
I was thinking about this too, because I think that we're gonna have to come up with this list here, and we'll continue this challenge. And I think next week we'll outline a challenge for the listeners. So I was thinking about the whole movie. I realized that there's a lot more characters. And then I thought to myself, I'm going to have to decide if all the characters are in there in the first place. So what's going to be the story? And so I said, wait, you know what? Put that aside for now. Let's just think about who you want in there. The Robert Downey Jr. for the Wizard, that's a good one. I forgot about that. And I was thinking to myself, like, Thor would be awesome for the Barbarians, actually, but he would have to be small. Like, so I'm like, okay, now we've got hero sizes, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about, the different ones. And Maximus said Josh Brolin for the bowler, Thanos. But I was thinking him for the king. And I was thinking Scarlett
Johansson?
Yeah, as maybe the archer. And I was thinking of Anthony Hopkins as the warden. And then I realized that I was just recasting the Marvel superheroes
pretty much
in this.
Which all of that has exploded since you guys did this last back in 2013.
Yeah,
like all the Marvel movies have come out since then.
So all week long I've been sitting here going, yeah, you know what? I think Josh Brolin might be a good king. And as I started getting my list down, I just realized, no, you can't just do the Marvels. You can't do the Marvel Universe people. So I have to start thinking about it again from scratch, and not with
casting
the
non-Marvel people. That's so funny. Does that mean you're a Marvel guy? You don't like DC?
I like them both.
Because I thought you were all Superman.
I love Superman. I love Marvel. I sometimes don't like what certain movies are, like I really want to love DC movies more than I do. Really want to, I love it. I want to love it more. I'm trying. I'm really just, I like it all, to be honest.
Yeah, we watched the most recent Flash movie.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It was okay, but it just didn't have the pizzazz or the storyline that I feel like, Marvel really built up with that whole universe. But
I waited 30 years to see Michael Keaton as Batman.
Yep.
So if you're a little kid out there listening, and you shouldn't be listening to the show if you're a little kid out there, dreams may come true. 30 years it took for Michael Keaton, but
to come back.
Yeah, but I used to wish for that every night. Another Batman. And here I am. Clash of Clans Podcast G.
I just thought of another perfect actor for the Wizard would be Doctor Strange. His name is.
See, again, Marvel.
Actually, that's who. Perfect. He's perfect, is he not?
Yeah, he is. That's who I was thinking about, I think, for the Wizard this week. And instead of Tony Stark, but when you said that, I was like, see, it's another Marvel thing.
So funny.
So, and this is a real delicate business, casting this.
Have you contacted the actors? You have to make sure they're willing.
Well, no, now because I am back at the drawing board. I don't want the world to think of this movie as Avengers.
Don't sign any contracts.
Yeah, don't sign any contracts. I'm going to come up with a great movie theme, and I'm going to cast these actors. And I think you're going to have to cast your actors.
And I'm going to have to do some thinking.
Yeah, you're going to have to do some thinking on this. Just not Marvel. So
that makes it so hard.
Maybe that's the challenge. We can't use anybody that was one of the Avengers. That's going to really narrow it down. So far, I have nobody on my cast list. I did want to ask you one other thing. What is the correct clan bite etiquette? So oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, I'm really not that popular. I will get a clan invite. Are those just to say hi? Are those like, hey, I'm here? Or is there any protocol or etiquette around those that you are aware of?
The clan invites are random. So the way that the current recruiting tool works in game, if you go to your profile, you have the option of not receiving clan invites, receiving clan invites, or receiving clan invites and being suggested. Interestingly enough, if you just have received clan invites, you're still suggested for some reason. So I don't know what's going on. But those are just people who your name pops up on a list of 50 other people as possible members of their clan. They click your name, look at your base, and send you an invite. But they don't know, like it's just a random clan.
But I can invite other people.
Yeah, you can, as long as they have invites on.
And then that would but will that button still be there?
The invite button?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can invite them, and then
they just won't get it.
They won't get it if they don't have clan invites on. So I turn it on and off, depending on my account.
I've been sending out those clan invites.
So on my main, for example, I typically have it off just because as a Town Hall 16, I'm overwhelmed with clan invites to people because everybody wants a Town Hall 16 in their clan.
But they can also find you, like because you're on YouTube and you're a podcaster, and they can hit invite, can't they?
I guess all 5 people who watch my YouTube video could invite me.
Well, I thought people were doing that as like, hey, how's it going? Well, Cerberus.
Yeah.
Sent me an invite, but I was wondering, are those used as like, hey, how you doing kind of thing, or stop by, and you're just telling me these are random people?
Well, so I'll use the invite tool, for example, if I need to go to another clan real quick, maybe to donate troops to somebody or to check on a war, like to look at replays in an attack. So, for example, the clan that I'm in now, Town Hall 16, they have an A team and a B team. And both of these clans are in Champs 2, but the better players are in the A team. And that's our, top 15 players in 12 Mutineers. They go to that clan, and congrats to them. For 3 months in a row, they've gotten second place. So they're just one place away from promoting up to Champs 1. But I'm not good enough to make the A team. So I'm on the B team. But if I want to head over, maybe it's a regular war or whatever, and I want to watch replays, well, then before I head out to the main 12 Mutineers clan, I'll just type a message in clan chat, say, hey, send me an invite, please. I'll head over, and then a co-leader can click on my name and send me an invite, and that goes into my inbox. So that way I don't have to find the clan again, request to join, somebody accepts. Well, that skips all of that process.
Right.
I get the invite in my inbox. I just click the accept button, and immediately I'm back in the clan.
Yeah, and I get that part of it, but I wondered if there was like some, hey, I've invited you to the clan. I don't expect you to come, but friend request me, or I don't know. I don't know what the kids are doing these days.
Yeah, so if it's somebody that you don't know, it's probably just a random invite, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Likely, more than likely.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe it was podcast listeners who wanted a shout out.
They'll probably friend you if that's the
case.
Yeah,
you can friend me on Scotty827.
Yeah, and I do get friend requests from people that I know. Also, so I get a lot of friend requests on my on my Strategic Rushed account. I get tons of friend requests on that account. but that's because that's the account that I show in my YouTube videos. Like that's my strategic rush base. So people see the name Tal Shiar, or they see the clan that I'm in, Cork's Bar, and they'll find it and then friend me and send me a friend request through that. But I typically don't get invites from those though. Sometimes I do, but
Okay.
typically not.
I'll have to ask some other people too.
Hmm.
I just imagine there would be some politics around that. So you got the chance to use the overgrowth spell?
I used it once.
And
I completely flubbed up my attack.
I
was so ashamed. Well, so I I used it one time because there was an exposed town hall, and I wanted to sneaky the town hall, but there was an invis tower that was connected to the town hall, and as you know, the moment that you start eating away at the town hall with those sneakies, the invis tower pops, and then it's no good. Like you have to wait, but you have to use a ton of sneaky. Like it was a process. So I had the bright idea. I'm going to use the overgrowth spell. It's essentially 2 freezes because it's 2 spell space. It's a lot wider than a free spell, so you have to count tiles 7 over to make sure that it just gets the invis spell tower and not the town hall as well. I invis the town hall. I'm sorry, not the town hall. I overgrowth spelled the invis tower, and then I sent in my test sneaky, and my test sneaky missed a giant bomb. And I sent in my other 6 sneakies to take down the town hall, and they went right through the giant bomb.
Oh no!
Boom! Exploded. So yeah, that attack did not 3-star. So that's my example of using the overgrowth spell.
I've been playing with it all week. I like it. I do. It's taking some getting used to. It's great for my funneling, and if I get it right, I think I got to get used to the radius of it or the circumference of it.
It's really wide.
Radius.
So I looked it up on
diameter.
Yeah.
Diameter.
So the radius is 8. So that means the diameter
16.
is 16 tiles across. That's massive.
And I was doing it and I was catching too much, like towards the center. But then there's sometimes where I hit it just right, and the troops miss, they turn. I did notice that I was using it a lot, and I would use it different than I thought I would. They might be right there in the midst of it. The Inferno Tower is right there, and I'll overgrowth near them. Then they clean up the rest of the stuff first, and then the stuff goes on. The overgrowth comes back on, and then they take it out. So I've just been trying to play with it, like in different ways.
The one thing that I'm a bit worried about is I'm curious, and I've tried researching this, but I haven't found the answer yet. But like the earthquake spell, whenever it's at level 1, it was really tiny. Like it only would earthquake a tiny area, and the more that I leveled up the earthquake, the wider that it got. I'm wondering if the overgrowth spell is the same way, and that worries me a little bit because I don't want to get used to. I'm not upgrading it yet because I have other troops that I want to upgrade first. But it has 4 levels, and so I don't want to get used to it at level 1 or 2,
and that gets bigger.
And it gets bigger, and I'm not used to the diameter of it. And then I start messing. I mean, it'll take time and practice,
If they just add a lot of time, you could just leave something overgrown the entire battle.
Well, that too, because some of it's going to be timing. So level 1 is only 22 seconds, but a level 4 is 28 seconds.
Oh, okay.
That it stays overgrown. So, but that's a big, that 6 seconds is a big difference. So if I'm sending in Super Bowlers, for example, like I have to plan on when the overgrowth is coming down, because the moment that it comes down, well, any defenses that are underneath it, if my troops are nearby, they're going to start shooting at my troops. So I kind of have to time that. And
if you had the eagle in the center of the base with everything, just overgrowth it for the entire battle until the last 30 seconds, and then just do a cleanup first and then take the center.
I can see where that would work, especially with like Rage Barbarians. If you cleaned up,
I'm going to try
Rage Barbarians and a Queen Walk like that,
That's why I've just been experimenting with stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the pros are always the ones that lead us, show us the way, right? So they're going to use it, and then
well, I
we're going
might
to see it.
stumble into something on accident.
Scotty 827,
Just
the pro.
I purely by pure chance and coincidence fell into an amazing strategy. And I'll share it with you all.
That's one thing that you're really good at is like you experiment with a lot of different types of troops, and like you're willing to try anything new. Like you go with the recall spell in certain situations, and you're using Super Bowlers now when you were using Yetis. Like you're trying out lots of different stuff, which unfortunately when you've been in the game for longer, you tend to go with what you've always used, and that can be a detriment.
Well, it's getting that last cleanup stuff is what I kind of realized in CWL. It's like, okay, I can get the 2-star, I feel comfortable. Like if it goes wrong, something always can go wrong. But for the most part, I feel really good about the 2-star. It's just getting the rest of that base because I've been losing on cleanup and time over and over again. So like, what is it? What's that tipping point that I can get to that level? Yeah. So I did bring 2 teleports.
Mm-hmm.
That's been pretty fun. I've just started using it in the last like 12 hours, 24 hours. Wow, that gives a lot of extra time and a lot of flexibility to take out a lot of the cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
But again, then you're trading off something else.
And that's it's a never-ending process. So, for instance, this past CWL of my Town Hall 16, I had one attack that was 96% and one attack that was 94%. And if I had just made minor changes to my attack, they would have been 3 stars. Like that's just always the frustration. Yeah. Like learning how to eke out that last little bit and get down those last few buildings so that you can triple base rather than 90+%ing it. Like that's the difference between a regular average Joe attacker like myself and somebody who's really good at the game. It just takes that little extra know-how.
Do you think those attackers go into every attack and just like in their normal everyday world and are like, 100%, 100%, 100%? Or is it like they've got their army down and just it doesn't matter, they can just look at it and smash it?
Yeah. So in 12 Mutineers, the A-Team, there were multiple players, 3 or 4, I think, that had perfect weeks. And this is on max Town Hall 16 bases in Champs 2, 3-starred all 7 attacks. Like they just look at a base, like they're just that good.
But what about their raid attacks?
That good. I mean so Legend League would be kind of where they would showcase that. And get pretty high. I would say
I suppose,
somebody who's really good, you get 8 attacks a day. Somebody who's really good is 3-starring 6 or 7 of those at least per day, if not, if not all 8 attacks.
And that's a little public service announcement. Anybody looking to attack, don't farm legends.
That's true.
Maximus got stuck in Legend League. He's all excited. Just keep climbing trophies and cross that threshold. And he was farming for resources. He's like really close to an upgrade, a king upgrade or something. And you've reached your max attack limit for today. And so then it took him 2 days to get out of it.
So the bonus for being in Legend League is you gain a lot more ore for being in Legend League just with the daily bonus. But the downside of it is you only have 8 attacks a day. So if you're trying to do a bunch of raiding and farming in order to get your base up, you need to stay in Titans just because you're only going to have 8 attacks once you hit that 5,000 trophy count and you get checked into Legend League.
That makes sense. Well, do you have anything else you want to get to today?
So I wanted to shout out my Town Hall 16 clan. Big thanks for letting a scrub like me war with you guys. That's the 12 Mutineer clan family. And then shout out to all the guys in House of L because this was definitely a rough week. going up against Town Hall 16s, but we had lots of clan chatter. People were very encouraging, understanding. It's just a game. It's okay if we mess up an attack every now and again. Not a big deal at all.
It really didn't seem like we were overmatched, but it wasn't like anybody was sitting around complaining about it. Really, it was like, wow, we're overmatched. Okay, I'm going to try this. Where are you going to hit? It was really fun and really helpful too, because Chewy was telling me about those Super Bowlers, and so I kept trying out some of those things, and
and he had some great feedback.
Yeah, and actually even just a little bit of permission too, because here's me wanting to bring in more healers and thinking, no, I shouldn't, and then he's taking in more healers, and I thought, well, yeah, then I'm going to start doing that, and it's working. So, big shout out D-Max, Mur, all the House of L. Thanks for an awesome first CWL. I think we should probably plan on doing some big event or something for the next CWL in the House of L. If you are looking for a clan or you want to stop by and more, come join us in the House of L. I did write down the clan tag, but I left it upstairs.
It's the only level 22 clan.
Okay, the clan tag is 909 BUGYV. I believe that's a clan tag. Oh, wait. Hashtag SUCKIT. Wait, no. Nope.
Suck it, nerds.
Nope, it's 909 BUGYV. Okay, got it. All right. Well, already have a lot more to talk about. We did get into the hero equipment a little bit, and I really need to know more about these super troops for next time. I'll be playing around with them. Can only really boost 2 at a time, so kind of limits the experimentation on those.
Although for the event, they're going to let you boost 3.
Are they really?
Yeah. Well, so kind of. So it's the Super Dragon event. So the Super Dragon starting tomorrow, which by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be started. The Super Dragons you can boost them,
Rule
and
the
then
skies.
in addition to those, you can boost 2 other super troops.
Okay.
So it'll be the first time that 3 super troops have ever been allowed to be boosted at the same time.
I usually bring a cleanup dragon, so I'm kind of excited to work one of these things in. Not a super dragon, but just a regular dragon.
Yeah.
So it starts tomorrow. We're going to have a lot to talk about. And how long is the event?
So it's short. I think it's 10 days, and that's it.
And the rewards are in total.
They're gonna have the event pass again, probably for $5, which is what it's been. And just a tip for anybody listening: if you're gonna buy stuff, of course you got to buy the fireball for the warden first. The rest of your ice cubes, I about said red envelopes. The rest of the ice cubes, buy out all of the glowy ore. Buy all the glowy ore, because I have several pieces of equipment that are stuck at level 17 because I don't have enough glowy ore, and that's been the choke point for ore.
So you think don't do research search potions, don't do anything on time, just buy ore?
You can do that after you buy the glowy ore.
Because you can only get so much.
Right. Even if that gives you 2,000 glowy ore and you don't need it at the moment, well, you will need it. So every 3 levels, you need glowy ore on your equipment. And it starts out really small. Like you only need 20 glowy ore for level 3. And then I think it's like 40 for level 6. And then it's 60 for level 9. But then it gets up to like 200. And it's nearly impossible to get because in your you only get a little bit in your daily bonus. And so grab the glowy ore.
I suppose when we're talking about precious resources, that's one of the only ways to get it. And yeah, that's something to keep in mind, so I don't go spend it on all the other things.
Well, and if you have leftover, I mean, spend it on whatever, but I'm definitely going to be finishing up several pieces of equipment this week and next because I'll buy the pass.
And with more equipment coming out too, it's like, well, we're more in need of it.
Yeah, and I got to get the Hog Rider puppet, see how well it does at Town Hall 16. On the video that I put out earlier, I've already had a few people that say, no, it doesn't work at Town Hall 16 because all the hogs die too quickly. And that could be the case. But if those hogs last any meaningful length of time, it's going to be way more valuable than the Seeking Shield. So we'll see. I want to get it up to at least level 12 before I start playing with it. So that gives me a good 5 levels to go. But I should be able to do that next week or two.
Well, I guess that's all from us then here at the Clash of Clans podcast for this week. Again, I'm looking forward to playing with these new things over Spell, checking out this new hero equipment, and we'll be able to be back next week and talking about all this. Get a hold of us, clashclanspodcast@gmail.com, or you can find all the episodes and soon to be some extras too coming to the clashclanspodcast.com.
clashclanspodcast.com.
Yeah. And find Tip. Tell them where to find the YouTube video and
just search for Clash Tips. Any of those videos, it'll pop up right away. Clash Tips.
Yep. I did put a link to the clan tag up online or on the website, as well as links to Tips YouTube and Clash Tips podcast. Keep it clashy, everybody.
Keep it clashy.
Skilly beep boop, skilly beep.